Born in the early 15th century, Meera Bai was a Krishna devotee of the highest order. She was born a princess but gave up the pleasures of palace for begging on the streets of Vrindavan. Meera Bai was a Rajput princess and the only child of Ratan Singh, who was the younger brother to the ruler of Merta, one of the prosperous kingdoms of Rajasthan. Meera was only 3 years old when a wandering saint came to her house. As per the Hindu tradition, the saint was welcomed and treated with a lot of respect by the royals. On his arrival, he placed his statue of Lord Krishna in the room that was given to him by his guru. When Meera arrived into the room with her grandmother, the first thing that caught her attention was the statue of Lord Krishna. Nobody noticed when she walked past her grandmother and sat in front of the statue of Krishna, seemingly attracted to Krishna. The saint was impressed by the welcome and the treatment he had received and asked Meera's grandmother what would she like in return. While his intention was to give her the blessing she wanted, Meera jumped into the conversation and said that she wanted the statue of Krishna. In a matter of minutes, when Meera realized that the saint was not in favor of giving her the statue, she broke down to tears. No amount of tantrums or tears could convince the sage to give away the statue of his god, gifted to him by his guru. He blessed the family, picked up the statue, and began to walk away. Suddenly, the sage had a change of heart, as if he was told by Krishna himself that this is where the statue belonged, to Meera. He turned and gave the statue to little Meera and left the palace. From that day, everything in little Meera's life revolved around her Krishna. She would speak with the statue for hours, wouldn't eat until she fed her Krishna, and dressed her idol all day long. On one occasion, when Meera was still young, she saw a wedding procession going down the street. Turning to her mother, she asked in innocence, "Who will be my husband?" Her mother replied casually, with lack of any seriousness, "You already have your husband, Krishna." Meera's mother was supportive of her daughter's blossoming love for Krishna, but she passed away when Meera was 10 years of age. At an early age, Meera's father arranged for her to be married to Prince Bhojraj, who was the eldest son of Rana Sanga of Chittor. They were an influential Rajput family, and the marriage significantly elevated Meera's social position. However, Meera was unwilling to get married, as she had already found her husband in Krishna. But she knew the world would never understand her emotions, and under the pressure of her family's reputation, she agreed to marry. She served her husband Bhojraj dutifully, but in the evening, she would spend her time in devotion and singing to her beloved Krishna. While singing devotional bhajans, she would frequently lose awareness of the world, entering states of ecstasy and trance. Her new family did not approve of her love and devotion to Krishna. To make things worse, Meera refused to worship their family deity, also known as Ishtadevi, Durga. She said that she had already committed herself to Sri Krishna. Her family became increasingly disapproving of her actions, but the fame and saintly reputation of Meera Bai spread throughout the region. Often, she would spend her time discussing spiritual issues with sadhus, and people would join in the singing of her bhajans. However, this just made her family even more embarrassed of her actions. Meera's sister-in-law Udabai began spreading false gossip to defame Meera. She said Meera was entertaining men in her room in the name of worshipping Krishna. Her husband, believing these stories to be true, stormed into her room with a sword in hand. However, he only saw Meera singing to the statue of Krishna. No man was there at all. Throughout these private and public insults, Meera Bai remained unmoved by both the criticism and the praise of the world. Meera's fame spread far and wide, and her devotional bhajans were sung across the northern India. In one account, it is said that the fame and spirituality of Meera Bai reached the ears of the Mughal Emperor Akbar. Akbar was tremendously powerful, but he was also very interested in various religious paths. The problem was that Rajputs and Mughals were the worst of enemies. To visit Meera Bai would cause problems for both Akbar and Meera Bai. But Akbar was determined to see the princess saint, Meera Bai. Disguised in the clothes of beggar, he travelled with Tansen to visit Meera Bai. Akbar was so captivated by her soulful music and devotional singing that he placed at her feet a priceless necklace before leaving. In the course of time, Akbar's visit came to the ears of her husband, Bhojraj. He was furious that a Muslim and his own enemy had set eyes upon his wife. He ordered Meera Bai to commit suicide by drowning in a river. Meera Bai intended to honor her husband's command, but as she entered the river, Sri Krishna appeared to her and commanded to her to leave to Vrindavan, where she could worship him in peace. So with a few followers, Meera Bai left for Vrindavan, where she spent her time in devotion to Krishna. After a while, her husband became regretful, feeling that his wife was indeed a real saint. So he travelled to Vrindavan and requested her to return. Meera Bai forcefully agreed, much to the displeasure of the rest of the family. Soon after, Meera Bai's husband died fighting against the Mughals. This made the situation even worse for Meera Bai. Her father-in-law, Rana Sanga, saw her husband's death as a way to get rid of Meera. He commanded her to commit sati, a process where the wife commits suicide by throwing herself on the husband's funeral fire. However, Meera Bai, with the direct inner assurance of her beloved Sri Krishna, said that she would not do sati. Her real husband Sri Krishna had not died. After this experience, her family continued to torture her. They restricted her movements and sought to make her life as miserable as possible. It is said that twice her family tried to kill her, once through a venomous snake and once through a poisonous drink. On both occasions, it is said that Meera Bai, protected by the grace of Sri Krishna, faced no harm. Eventually, upon the advice of learned men and saints, Meera slipped out of the palace and escaped to the holy city of Vrindavan, where she was free to worship Krishna to her heart's content. Even learned sadhus would come to her for inspiration. There is a story of one such respected spiritual master who refused to speak to Meera Bai because she was a woman. Meera Bai replied that there was only one real man in Vrindavan, which was Sri Krishna. Everyone else was a gopi of Krishna. On hearing this, the spiritual master accepted the wisdom of Meera Bai and agreed to talk to her. Later, Meera Bai would become his student. It is said that in her death, she miraculously disappeared by merging into an idol of Krishna. One day, she was singing in a temple when Sri Krishna appeared in his subtle form. Sri Krishna was so pleased with his dearest devotee that he opened his heart and Meera Bai merged with Krishna while in the highest state of Krishna consciousness.